Hello again to manofmuchmetal.com on YouTube. Thanks ever so much for all the positive comments that have come forth already. It's kind of spurred me on to do this a bit more. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing will remain to be seen, I guess. If I get people watching this and listening to my waffle, then great. If not, then I shall bring it to a swift close. But so far, so good. By popular demand, or because one person suggested it, bless their cotton socks, I've decided to do a series of posts charting my progress over the years from listening to mainstream music or more mainstream music right through to now, where I still listen to some mainstream music, but I dally much more with the underground extreme metal stuff, amongst other things. So here goes. So my early days, I didn't get into music particularly much until I was around about 13, 14. I got myself a part-time job, a Saturday job down at the local pet shop, and I saved up week after week after week for my very first stereo. I'd seen one that I liked. It was full of lights and gadgets and gizmos. I wanted it. So it was at that point, at age 14, that I started to discover music, and this was like the mid 90s. That kind of dates me for those that are good at maths. Yeah, so mid 90s. Up until then, my dad had been a massive influence on me, listening to things like ELO, Queen, and of course Dire Straits. Now, I still listen to all those. They're part of my collection still. I love lots of the Dire Straits stuff. The darkness of it, almost the melancholy aura of it. I mean, Telegraph Road itself, classic track. Still listen to that a lot. Queen, it goes without saying that they are an absolute icon. You just can't go out through your everyday life being a rock fan and a metal fan without liking something by Queen, I guess. The album that I had before up there, Innuendo, still my favourite to this day. It's their more metal, if you like, CD. Lots of, sort of heavier stuff, darker stuff on that I really like. But whatever Queen put out, practically, I listened to and have enjoyed. I even went and saw a reincarnation of ELO not too many years ago with with the parents of Much Metal. They took me locally and we watched it, and it was a great night. Not the sort of thing that I would necessarily do on a regular basis now, but it was good fun. Good fun. So I guess the stereo was the main thing. That was the thing that really got me started. But I had a best mate that I'd grown up with throughout, since birth, really. And he started to get into music a bit before me. He was about a year older than me, I guess. But he was buying tapes, and I'd never really been into cassette tapes or music before. But he lent me a couple of things, or he played stuff to me when I went round there. And I think that had an impact on also where I went. Naturally, I haven't actually got it in my collection anymore, but I did buy a Meatloaf album in that kind of bridging gap. But the band that he really got me into was Bon Jovi. Now, you can swear, curse, or cringe if you like, but Bon Jovi were that bridge band for me. They were the band that really got me into guitar-based music beyond the stuff that my dad used to listen to. They were just an incredible band that I really enjoyed listening to. Again, in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s heyday. And I will stand by it that Dry County remains their greatest ever song. Criminal that it wasn't featured on their best of. It's like leaving Bohemian Rhapsody off a Queen album, as far as I'm concerned. But hey, that's a discussion for another day. So yeah, Bon Jovi, big hooks, big choruses, you know it. They've been derided in the past for being a bit too fluffy, a bit too corporate maybe, or not edgy enough. And yeah, now as I sit here now, I would tend to agree. But there are some great songs in there. A side note, I've been told that on my previous post I used the word fantastic too many times. So hopefully you won't hear that on this particular transmission, apart from that one time I just said it just then. So yeah, Bon Jovi. I listened to them day, night when I was doing my homework in my GCSE years. When I wasn't doing my homework, I had the headphones on. My next door neighbours must have got sick and tired of hearing Bon Jovi because it was what was coming out of my bedroom at the time. Then, bands like Aerosmith, not a massive fan anymore, but again, a band that kind of filled that gap, acted as a bridge into where I am now. In fact, Get a Grip, it may not be their best album, and probably most people would say it's not, but had a couple of cracking tunes on it. I quite liked Crying, Amazing, obviously Living on the Edge was a good song. So yeah, Aerosmith. I think part of them died for me when they did the Armageddon theme song, if you like. That great song. It has its place, but I've heard it so many times that I wish it wouldn't be played anymore for a while at least. Yeah. And then another big game changer for me was the mighty Def Leppard. Cannot beat it. And Adrenalize was the album that got me into them. Again, my best mate was playing them. And I liked what I heard. Again, I mean, it's that big stadium rock sound, the big choruses, the pounding rhythms. And what I loved about Adrenalize was the drum sound. It was so crisp, it was so clear. Yeah, maybe digitized a bit or whatever, but I just loved it, and I just loved the feel of the album. It was just fantastic. Whoops. But yeah, I mean, you look at the track titles on here. I mean, you've got Let's Get Rocked, White Lightning, really good song. Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad? Again, a classic ballad. And that led me into discovering a lot more about Def Leppard as well. Never really got Slang, must admit, but other albums and the more recent stuff has been patchy. But yeah, I mean, classic Def Leppard. I went and saw them at the O2 recently, and what a show that was. Really, really good night. And they played Hysteria from start to finish. So, you know, what more can you ask for? So, I guess it wouldn't be the early years if I didn't mention these guys. Yeah, Guns N' Roses. There you go. I'm not going to apologise for it. Love them. I still love them. But I don't listen to them very much nowadays. And in fact, the first time for about 5 or 6 years that I heard Don't Cry, one of my favourite songs by Guns N' Roses, was actually an airport coming back from an Evergrey concert. So I've listened to it since. It triggered some memories for me. Again, Guns N' Roses, they're a bit hit and miss. I mean, on their Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 albums, there was some good stuff, there was some awful stuff. But, you know, take it or leave it. I mean, their version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, might I say, is probably the best version, in my opinion. But then again, I'm open to be shot down in flames for that as well. But yeah, loved Guns N' Roses, the attitude, the whole kind of 80s feel about it all as well. Whatever they like off stage and the persona of certain members of the band, well, you know, I still like their music. I wouldn't though, and given that they're playing at what is essentially the home of football, the new White Hart Lane, or the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as it's trying to be called these days. I'm not going to pay upwards of £100 to go and see them when they play there as the first gig at that venue. It might be good. Axel might not even turn up. Who knows? But I'm not going to pay that sort of money for that. But still, an important band as I was growing up. And then finally, this was the start, if you like, of going into something just a little bit heavy and a little bit more edgy. Skid Row. Again, it was the influence of my best mate at the time. He loved Skid Row and he loved this album. I mean, Slave to the Grind is just insanely good. insanely good. There's not a bad track on it as far as I'm concerned. There's a little bit of novelty value on there, but when you've got Quicksand Jesus and when you've got Wasted Time, but the absolute pinnacle on that album for me is In a Darkened Room. Utterly brilliant. I love the guitar work. I love the melodies in it. I love the power, the emotion in it. And it was just that first sign that I wasn't just going to stick with Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses anymore. There was there was some real angst. There was some heavy old riffs on that album, which still sound heavy today, to be honest. Um, and yeah, that's where it started to lead. But I've been waffling on for nearly 11 minutes now, so there you go. That's sort of the potted early years. If it's interesting enough, I can do a bit more in depth another time. But check out my next video, which will be the next stage of my life, probably from through my A level years, from about 16 to 18. So tune in for that. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Man of Much Metal out.